You know, we all feel it, right? That deep, modern exhaustion we've all agreed to call burnout. But what if the fix isn't some new productivity hack? What if the answer comes from, of all people, the greatest swordsman Japan ever knew? We're about to dive into how the philosophy of Miyamoto Musashi might just be the perfect antidote to our 21st century fatigue.
I mean, does this sound familiar? You wake up and you already feel like you're behind. You spend the whole day chasing goals, endlessly scrolling, and when you finally get a moment to rest, even your rest feels restless. It's just this constant state of drain.
And this quote, right here, is the heart of it all. Musashi, a man who fought over 60 duels to the death, would tell you that our exhaustion, it's not really physical, it's spiritual. It's a fundamental misalignment between what we're doing and our real inner purpose.
So where on earth did all that energy go? Well, according to Musashi, it starts to vanish the second you begin fighting against your true self. See, it's not the work itself that's making you tired, it's the internal conflict.
Think about this for a second. His very first duel, he's just 13 years old, and he defeats a grown samurai named Arima Kihei. But instead of, celebrating or looking for praise, he just goes home for quiet reflection. He knew instantly that fighting for someone else's approval is the absolute fastest way to lose your own strength.
And this chart just lays it all out, doesn't it? On one side, you've got all the things that drain us, constantly fighting for approval, chasing goals that aren't even ours, trying to make everyone else happy. And on the other side, that's Musashi's path, the path that actually energizes you. It's about fighting to understand yourself, following your own path, and aligning with your values. That's where the real sustainable energy is hiding.
Okay, so let's get into the second big idea here, which is all about the invisible baggage we lug around every single day. Musashi knew that to be truly ready, truly energetic, you have to travel light, and not just physically but mentally too. His rule for life was incredibly simple but also kind of ruthless. Do nothing that is of no use. Every single thing he owned, every thought, every attachment, he weighed it against that rule. Was it useful for his survival, for his focus, for his path? If the answer was no, he just let it go. So, what's our modern version of that baggage? Oh, it's the endless open tabs in our brains, the constant notifications, the gossip and drama, the fake obligations we say yes to. Each one feels like a little pebble, but when you put them all together, it's an unbelievably heavy burden. Real energy doesn't come from doing more, it comes from ruthlessly cutting away everything that is useless.
Now this one is huge. Our culture is completely obsessed with finding motivation, right? But Musashi would say that's a total fool's game. Why? Because motivation is fleeting. Rhythm is forever.
I mean, if Musashi had waited to feel ready or feel motivated to practice, he would have died in his second duel. Simple as that. Instead, he made discipline his heartbeat. He trained when it was raining, when it was freezing, when it was burning hot. It was never about excitement, it was about building a rhythm so deep that the action became automatic, effortless. It became part of his identity.
And here's the roadmap. First, you just choose your practice, your craft, your health, whatever it is. Then, the hard part, you just show up, consistently, especially on the days you don't want to. Over time, that consistency builds automaticity, like brushing your teeth. And then, one day, that action isn't something you do anymore. It's just a part of who you are. And that's when it stops draining your energy and starts creating it.
This next principle, it's one of the hardest for sure, but maybe one of the most powerful. Our constant focus on the outcome, on winning, on getting the promotion, on getting the like, it's a massive source of anxiety and exhaustion.
Just look at his most famous duel. His opponent, Sasaki Kojiro, he was the picture of perfection. Musashi? He shows up late, looks a mess, and is carrying a sword he literally carved from a boat oar on the way over. The duel itself, it lasted a single moment. One strike, and it was done. But here's the craziest part. Musashi didn't celebrate. He didn't wait for applause. He just turned around and walked away. See, the victory wasn't the goal. Mastering the moment was. And that's the real lesson here, isn't it? The second you tie your inner peace to some external result, you've just given all your power away. Musashi won because his mind was empty. It was free. He was acting for the sake of mastery itself, not for any recognition. That kind of freedom, that's a deep well of energy right there. And this brings us to this really beautiful paradox. Musashi's incredible energy as a warrior. It didn't come from aggression or constant motion. It actually came from a deep, profound inner stillness. In between these life-or-death battles, you'd think he'd just be training non-stop, right? Nope. He was meditating by rivers, creating these beautiful ink paintings, carving sculptures. To him, there was no difference between the way of the sword and the way of the artist. Both required absolute presence and a totally calm, focused mind.
This quote right here, it captures his whole philosophy. What it means is, if you can master stillness in one small area of your life, whether that's painting, or just walking, or even just breathing, that sense of calm and clarity will start to spill over into absolutely everything else you do.
Here's the problem. We're tired because even when our bodies are sitting perfectly still, our minds are running a marathon. Musashi did the exact opposite. He found rest in movement. Every swing of his sword was basically a form of meditation. So the question for you is, what's your active meditation? Where can your body move while your mind finally gets to be still?
So as we wrap all this up, a really clear picture starts to form. The world is always trying to sell us external sources of energy. More caffeine, more dopamine hits, more validation, but they never ever last. The true infinite source of energy that Musashi tapped into, it comes from within. It happens when your actions, your beliefs, and your goals all point in the exact same direction.
And that leaves us with this one last really powerful thought. Maybe you've never actually been tired. Maybe you've just been living a divided life, pulling yourself in a dozen different directions at once. Musashi's secret was clarity. He walked his own path. So the real question isn't how to get more rest. The question is, what is your path, and what will you align with to finally walk it?